Welcome to the Sunday service of the Vancouver Unitarians, live streaming from the corner of 49th and Oak in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. My name is Ellie. I'm a member of the worship services team, and I am so glad you're here. Whatever your race, whatever your gender, whatever your sexuality, your country of origin, your age, your faith, your doubts, your hopes, your fears, whoever you are wanted and valued and loved among us. Our sanctuary sits in Kamkamalai, which means place of many maple trees. It was given that name before our settler ancestors ever set foot here, or even dreamed up such a thing as Canada. It still carries that name, passed down in the traditions of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh, and we are deeply grateful for their custody of this land. Now's the time in our service where we take a couple of minutes to greet our neighbors, and then we'll be brought back by Shawn.
Can you light the chalice at the
Certainly
appointed moment?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll put this down. Today, as we honor the lives lived well of people who died in 2024, we turn to a well-known song written by Robert Sherman and his brother Richard, who passed away last May at the age of 95. The brothers wrote the music for the movies Mary Poppins, The Jungle Book, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and many, many more. Let us now join in singing what is probably their most famous song, It's a Small World After All. If you have an earworm later, you can send me an email about it. I call us together for this time of worship, for the celebration of the gift of life, with the words of Lawrence Kushner. Some seem to be born with a nearly completed puzzle, and so it goes. Souls going this way and that, trying to assemble the myriad parts. But know this, no one has within themselves all the pieces to their puzzle. Like before the days when they used to seal jigsaw puzzles in cellophane, ensuring that all the pieces were there. Everyone carries with them at least one and probably many pieces to someone else's puzzle. Sometimes they know it, sometimes they don't. And when you present your piece, which may be worthless to you, to another, whether you know it or not, whether they know it or not, you are messengers from the Most High. You and all that is you are a gift to the world. So, gifts that we are, let us unite our hearts now in this time that we make sacred in our coming together. As Ellie comes to light our chalice, offer these words. Together we light this chalice, together we see its light, with kindness and in deep bonds of community, with love for the human family in all its variety, with reverence before the world and its teeming web of life. May we care for our earthly home and for each other with courage, with love, and with justice. I now invite forward children or people of any age to come forward for this morning's story.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's okay. So today's story is called I Lived Inside a Whale by Zhen Li. And here it begins. Once upon a time, I dreamed of a world that was quiet. My world was too loud, too busy, and filled with too much of everything, everywhere, all the time. I read about the blue whale. It is the largest animal on earth with a heart so big that my dad could stand inside it. This gave me an idea, a very good idea. So she's building a whale. And then she conjures the whale. There we go. Inside the whale, I was embraced by silence. I settled into this quiet world just the way I preferred, which is a little like ministers just before they go on sabbatical. Until a big and bright wave brought in an intruder. Wah! He was loud, noisy, and everything I was running away from. I think it was her little brother. Oh no, I was eaten by a whale. But I could not escape. This is not a bad hideout. How about we play hide and seek? I will hide first, you count to 10. No, not interested? How about we play knight, and you can be a princess? No? I know. We can play pirate, and I'm a captain, and you are the beautiful parrot. Okay, you'll get to be the captain, and I will be the parrot. No? How about you tell me what we play? I took a deep breath and said, okay, let's make a deal. If you act like you're not here for half the day, then I'll acknowledge that you are here for the other half. The boy paused for a moment. He nodded and replied, deal. To my surprise, he kept his promise. So I kept mine. I grabbed a book and read aloud. The boy interrupted me a lot at first. After a while, he grew quiet. Once I had turned the last page and closed the book, the boy asked for more. So I told him stories I had read, stories I made up, and even stories from my life, stories I had never told anyone outside the whale. When I finished telling my stories, the boy asked, why are you hiding inside a whale? I want to live somewhere quiet, I said, so I can hear my own voice. When you speak, people will be quiet and listen to you, the boy said. I listen to you. He thought for a moment, then said, "Come with me." They go on an adventure. The boy had an idea, a very good idea. I stepped on the boat and began to speak. Once upon a time. My world remained too loud, too busy, and filled with too much of everything everywhere all the time. But whenever I told a story, I heard the boy clapping for me from the other side of the ocean. And that's our story. It's a good story.
So we are going to go out and continue talking about stories as the theme of the month. Today is all about the story of our lives. And Crossing Paths is beginning their unit on Hinduism. And childcare is available for any little ones that come after.
Good morning again. My name is Karen Bartlett, and I have the honor of serving on your board of directors. So a few announcements today is we would encourage putting in your calendar that on February 15th, there will be a fundraising concert for raising funds for a new piano, and it's going to be very exciting. And the title of this concert is 88 Keys to Your Heart. So, but we don't want to miss that. Details regarding the tickets will be made available next week. Also, this week is, I believe, the last week that multi-faith calendars will be on sale. It's a fundraiser for the youth group. And so how are you going to keep track of all those dates if you don't have a calendar to put it in? There will be news from the board is that we're going to be having a retreat in February and talk about priorities and things that strategic boards do for the congregation. And I am going to be at the board talkback table after the service, and so we'd love to hear from you. Come and tell me what you would like the board to consider, what your dreams are for this congregation. And finally, best wishes for Shawn, because he's going to be gone for a few weeks and will be back February 4th, so wish him well.
Each week, we collect an offering to support the work of this congregation. A thriving spiritual community requires gifts of all kinds, of time, energy, care, of love and of listening, of speaking, of work and of rest, and yes, of money. A portion of the offering is shared each week with other community organizations doing good in the world. This week, we're sharing with Anya, the Urban Native Youth Association. You can read more about them in the order of service. The ushers will now be coming forward to collect the offering. You can find information on other ways to give in your order of service or on the screen right up there. The offering will now be received with gratitude.
So my late stepfather, Rad Clark, gave me this guitar, and thanks, Christian. And he always liked to tell about when he was playing in the touring band with Melanie Safka, who was, for a time after Woodstock, pretty big, and especially after her brand new Key song came out, I've Got a Brand New Pair of Roller Skates. And so when Elliot was asking for songs recognizing people who, musicians who died in the past year, I thought of Melanie and thought of my stepfather. So, Thanks. Yeah, this is a lament about the music industry and artists, so it's kind of classic. Look what they've done to my song. Look what they've done to my song. Well, it's the only thing that I could do half right. It's turning out all wrong. Look what they've done to my song. Look what they've done to my brain. Look what they've done to my brain. Well, they picked it like a chicken bone. I think I'm half insane, Mom. Look what they've done to my song. Wish I could find a good book to live in. I wish I could find a good book. Well, if I could find a real good book, I'd never have to come out and look at what they've done to my song. Ils ont changé ma chanson. Ils ont changé ma chanson. C'est la seule chose que je peux faire, et ce n'est pas bon. Ils ont changé ma chanson. But maybe it'll all be alright, Mom. Maybe it'll all be okay. Well, if the people are buying tears, I'll be rich someday, Mom. Look what they've done to my song. Feel free to sing along. Look what they've done to my song, Mom. Look what they've done to my song. Ma, you know they tied it up in a plastic bag and they turned it upside down. Oh, Mama, look what they've done to my song. Oh, la, da, 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 da. It was the only thing that I could do half right. It's turned out all wrong. Oh, Mama, look what they've done to my song.
This morning, we're incorporating a small but theologically significant change into the affirmation of gratitude in the second line. Words are not up there, that's okay. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for the earth has graced us with her bounty. There we go. Grateful for all those who share their gifts, for we are enriched by their giving. And let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may be held by the generosity of others.
Last year, I began meeting with Catherine Hembling, John Boyle, and Carl Perrin, and eventually a few others, to discuss how we as a congregation might better support our members and the wider community as we move through the increasing challenges of climate change. Offering the sermons and workshops put on by student minister Riley Yo last spring and summer, as well as Joanna Macy's Work That Reconnects programs this fall, all of these came out of these conversations. Another idea has been to create a place where we can individually acknowledge in a regular, ritual way the complex feelings we're holding about our changing world. It eventually will be in the back corner of the sanctuary, but it's here on the stage this morning, so you can actually see it. But there in the back you will find a vase filled to the brim with water and a collection of river rocks. You are invited in future services, if you wish, before, during, or after the service, to drop a stone in the water. As the rivulets of displaced water pour over the sides and into the container below, they may conjure for you the feeling of unshed tears for our hurting world. A couple of months ago, I spoke about climate grief and anxiety, which is sometimes called solastalgia. Solastalgia is now a feature of our common life on this planet. And attending to our grief and working through it is essential if we are to cope with the reality of a changing climate and find our way to taking meaningful action. This morning, as I dropped a stone in for myself, I thought of the wrenching scenes coming from Los Angeles. Scenes that I couldn't have imagined just a few days ago when deciding we would introduce this ritual this morning. Such is the world in which we now live. Admittedly, it is a simple thing, a ritual with water and rocks, but it is something. And in these bewildering times, our hope is that it will be some comfort, a place to acknowledge our heartache and anxiety and grief, and maybe in some strange way, even to find healing.
This week's meditation is an adaptation of the poem He Has Achieved Success by Bessie A. Stanley. They have achieved success who have lived well, laughed often, and loved much, who have enjoyed the trust of good folk, the respect of the wise, and the love of little children, who have filled their niche and accomplished their task, who have left the world better than they found it, whether by an improved poppy, a perfect poem, or a rescued soul, who have never lacked appreciation of earth's beauty or failed to express it, who have always looked for the best in others and given the best they had, whose life was an inspiration, whose memory a benediction.
Sometimes when life's poison arrows shoot me to the ground, dreams come falling down,
friends just can't be found. I don't worry, I don't wonder, I know what to do. I don't go crazy, I just go for you. Surround me with love, I need you beside me. I want you to hold and hide me when this world is closing in on me. Surround me with love, oh, and I can make it. Whatever comes, you know I can take it, just as long as you surround me with love. Who can say what comes tomorrow, what the future holds, what lies down the road? Heaven only knows, but one thing I know for certain, one thing that is true. One thing I'm sure of is that I need you. Surround me with love, I need you beside me. I want you to hold and hide me when this world is closing in on me. Surround me with love, oh, and I can make it. Whatever comes, you know I can take it, just as long as you surround me with love. Just as long as you surround me with love.
Thank you, Brian and Elliot. I'm wondering if Nancy Woodham is available to come forward to offer. Oh, it's Audrey, sorry, and Roger.
Good morning. I'm Audrey Cook, and this is my partner, Roger Brandt. We're doing the candles. We take time in every service to share our celebrations, our sorrows, our joys, and our concerns by lighting candles together. Some of you have made requests through the YouTube chat, through our website, or here in the sanctuary in our book of celebrations and concerns. As each candle is lit, please take a moment to hold each request in your heart and join us at the end by saying, "We light these candles together." Tamiko requests a candle for the people of Southern California dealing with the devastation of fire. A prayer, too, for the land and the countless more than human beings who are suffering or have perished. IPA requests a candle for the people of Palestine living in the Gaza district. They say they are trapped with no hope and they need our help. Please light a candle for Paul Timko, beloved husband, father, grandfather, and friend who died suddenly at the end of November. Please light a candle to celebrate all of the companion animals that bless our lives with joy, love, laughter, and sorrow. Leslie Kemp requests a candle for her mother's 92nd birthday. She died almost 18 years ago, and Leslie misses her dearly. We light the final candle for ourselves, for our unspoken joys and sorrows. Please join us in saying, "We light these candles together."
This morning we are looking back at several of the lives of the famous and not so famous who died in 2024. I will be offering several brief eulogies today for the number of people whose lives touched us in different ways, whose examples are compelling on many levels. It is a feast of our common humanity. As well, Elliot and Brian and others have already been offering and will continue to offer this morning music from several artists we lost this year. I should say that it's a very difficult task to settle on an impossibly short list of people to lift up out of so many. It is also important to name that no matter what level of accomplishment or fame any one of us attains, every human life is inherently worthy of noting, celebrating, and affirming. I hope that you will find this time of reflection on these lives lived a life-affirming way to begin this year. We begin with the man who, I should say too, the photo images. It is very difficult to find images in the public domain for famous people. So I'm sorry, the images are a bit blurry. We begin with the man who gave us a God's eye glimpse of our world. William Anders was an astronaut who understood the profound significance of our existence on this beautiful planet. His iconic photograph called Earthrise, taken during the Apollo 8 mission, serves as a poignant and enduring reminder of our shared humanity. In that moment on Christmas Eve 1968, as he looked out at our fragile Earth while orbiting the moon, he captured not just a breathtaking image, but a powerful message that we are all in this together, suspended in the vastness of space, vulnerable and deeply interconnected. Back on Earth, Anders became a dedicated advocate for environmental stewardship, urging us to cherish and protect the Earth. William Anders died on June 7th at the age of 90. Peter Higgs was a brilliant British physicist whose groundbreaking contributions transformed our understanding of the universe. Known best for the Higgs boson particle in quantum physics, sometimes called the God particle, much to Higgs' great frustration, his work revealed the mechanism behind mass, fundamentally altering the field of particle physics and earning him the 2013 Nobel Prize. While I am out of my depth in saying almost anything else about the particulars of his work, I did consult with Bob, my husband. I am grateful for the legacy of deep knowledge he has left to our world. Peter Higgs died in Edinburgh in April. He was 94 years old. She was known the world over as Dr. Ruth. Her fiery red hair and short stature, along with her pronounced German accent, made her instantly recognizable to millions. But what truly made Dr. Ruth Westenheimer so beloved was her capacity for frank talk about sex. Dr. Ruth was a trailblazer in the field of human sexuality and an empowering, encouraging voice for open dialogue about intimacy and human relationships. She transformed the way that we talk about sex, breaking down barriers and dispelling myths with her characteristic warmth and humor. She was born to a Jewish family in Germany in 1928. During the war, she fled to Switzerland as a schoolgirl and then on to Palestine. Tragically, she lost most of her family in the Holocaust. In Palestine, at the age of 17, all 140 centimeters of her trained as a sniper. In the conflicts there, she was wounded, almost losing both of her feet. She later moved to Paris for her studies and then on to the US, where she eventually became known through her books, television appearances, and radio shows, where she fostered a culture of acceptance and understanding around topics once considered taboo. As a teenager, I would often stay up past my bedtime on Sunday nights to secretly listen to her call-in program in my bedroom. Through those programs, I learned a great deal about sexuality and relationships, lessons that I know that on some level probably saved my life and that of countless other people. Dr. Ruth died in New York City at the age of 96 last July. Called Canada's First Lady of Jazz, Eleanor Collins was a pioneering artist and a beloved figure in the world of music. In 1957, the CBC invited her to star in The Eleanor Show, which ran through the summer and was produced here in Vancouver. Anyone remember seeing it? A few hands. Collins was the first woman, the first person of color, and the first jazz singer to headline a program on a national television platform anywhere in the world. While her velvety voice captivated audiences, she paved the way for generations of artists. Elnora Ruth Proctor was born in 1919 in Edmonton, where her family of Black and Creole heritage settled as homesteaders in 1906, drawn to Alberta by the promise of cheap land. She and her husband Richard and their 4 kids moved to Burnaby in 1948, where they were the only Black family in their neighborhood. When her future neighbors launched a failed petition to keep her family from moving in, she decided to volunteer at the local school and taught music to the local Girl Guide troupe. She was honored by Canada Post with a commemorative stamp in 2022. When she died last March in Surrey, she was 104. The Japanese poet Shuntaro Tanikawa was renowned for his ability to weave the complexities of life into simple yet powerful verses, capturing the essence of the human experience through themes of love, loss, and the beauty of existence. From his early works in post-war Japan to his later pieces that reflected the modern world, he remained a voice of authenticity and insight. His first collection of poems, 2 Billion Light Years of Solitude, was published in 1952. He would go on to write 60 more books of poetry and translate the Mother Goose rhymes and Charles Schulz's cartoon Peanuts into Japanese. He remains one of the most widely read and revered of Japanese poets. He said he used to think poems descended like an inspiration from the heavens, but as he grew older, he felt that poems actually welled up from the ground. Here is his short and succinct poem, Dirt. Memories are deep, evening darkness. To an aging mind, even regret is a subtle source of light. Seeds from many flowers that no longer bloom, I still keep on sowing them to make the dirt sing. Shuntaro Tanikawa was 92 when he died in Tokyo last November. Fei Lung. We now turn to one of our own neighbors. She was known for her colorful and sometimes outrageous hats, as well as for bringing down BC Premier William van der Zalm, after accusing him of withholding her commission from the sale of his amusement park known as Fantasy Gardens. Did anyone ever go? There are a few hands in the back, all right. It looked like a very interesting place. Fei Lung, who lived nearby, worked in real estate. Angered by not receiving compensation for her role in the sale, she released the tapes of recorded phone calls with the premier. Her 1991 complaint led to an investigation by the Conflict of Interest Commissioner, and van der Zalm resigned in the face of this public breach of trust, though he was acquitted in 1992 by the BC Supreme Court. Through her role in the scandal, Lung was later convicted herself in 1995 of 4 counts of secret commissions over $100,000, 1 count of theft over $45,000, and 2 counts of fraud. After testifying against the premier, she told reporters, "I am a mother, I am a housewife, I've lost my home, and right now I have nothing. I'm trying to get back on my feet. It's been absolutely no life. The Fei Lung you read about in the newspapers and in the magazines, that is not me. I am trying to get back to the real me. I'm trying to find the original person again." Leong Fuel Chu was born in 1932 in Victoria, where her family had lived for 2 generations. When her mother suddenly died shortly after the family moved to Vancouver, Lung, at the age of 14, dropped out of school so that she could help raise her younger siblings and work in their family's produce store. She claimed that she talked herself into being the first Chinese-Canadian woman hired by the Hudson's Bay Company, which may have been where she developed her trademark style that included flamboyant hats, shoes, purses, and gloves. In 1971, as she moved into her real estate career, she was featured on the cover of the Chinatown News under the headline Lady Developer. She became the first woman to be named Man of the Month by a city tourism industry group. Fei Lung, affectionately known as the Hat Lady, was a force of nature and not without controversy. She was 92 when she died in November. He captured hearts and minds and raised a fair bit of fury, being one half of a pioneering same-sex penguin couple in the Sea Life Aquarium in Sydney, Australia. Sven the penguin and his partner Magic became ambassadors for love and acceptance, reminding us all of the beauty and diversity of relationships. Aquarium staff first noticed an attraction between them when they saw them bowing to each other, a Gentoo penguin form of flirting. They went on to transcend human societal norms and expectations, building a nest together. Their romance inspired a Mardi Gras float, was referenced in Australia's education syllabus, and featured in the Netflix series Atypical. When Magic was taken to see Sven's body to help him understand his partner would not return, he immediately began singing, which then was reciprocated by the broader penguin colony. In addition to Magic, Sven is survived by their 2 fostered chicks, Lara and Clancy. Joe Average was far from it, average, that is. He was a gifted artist and passionate advocate whose creative spirit left an enduring and colorful impact on our city through his many banners and murals from Granville Island to Davie Village. He was a visual storyteller who used his vibrant paintings to convey messages of hope, resilience, and community. Known for his signature style and bold colors, Joe Average used his creativity in the service of social causes close to his heart, particularly in the area of mental health and in support for marginalized communities. Diagnosed with HIV at 27, he resolved to spend the rest of his life making art, and that he did. For decades, he donated pieces to auctions in support of AIDS organizations. His posters and t-shirts were featured at the annual Vancouver AIDS Walk, and sales of masks bearing his illustrations of bees with the message, "Be safe," raised $10,000 for BC Children's Hospital during the pandemic. Joe Brock Average died on Christmas Eve. He was 67. Born in Vancouver in 1931, Kazuko Saraishi, who spent her earliest years here, would go on to be called the Allen Ginsberg of Japan. She was one of Japan's foremost poets and is said to have been influenced by abstract art, experimental literature, and avant-garde jazz. Her style was improvisatory, and her poems were filled with surreal imagery, at once playful and philosophical, sensitive and compassionate. As a devotee of Ginsberg's work, she translated his writing into Japanese and was the author herself of over 20 books of poetry. In 1998, she was awarded the Purple Ribbon Medal by the Emperor of Japan. Here is her 1982 poem, Little Earth. This little planet begins to have a headache since humans occupied it and took it out of God's hand. Green blood dries, Earth's veins wither. The whale gets harpooned before he sends singing telepathy of love. Big jet flies circle the planet's head and turn the Occident into a skull. Planets break their necks all through the 21st century. Meanwhile, killers get high on the god of science and cheer the big arms race on. Kicking the globe in the head and puncturing its skin, Earth looks like it won't recover. Too many humans busy watching TV. And no one says anything about saving the planet. Will anyone witness our little Noah's Ark planet drowning in the universe? Only if they are able to dig up a time capsule called the future. Kazuko Shiraishi was 93 when she died in June. Gustavo Gutierrez was a visionary theologian and author, a Dominican priest, and a pivotal figure in what is known as liberation theology. His work deeply shaped the way that we understand faith and social justice, inspiring people to seek not just spiritual salvation, but also justice for the marginalized and oppressed. Born in Peru in 1928, Gutierrez dedicated his life to addressing the systemic injustices of his own country and beyond. His groundbreaking book, A Theology of Liberation, called on the Catholic Church to stand in solidarity with the poor and to advocate for the faith that actively seeks to empower and uplift those in need. His book emerged out of his work in the barrios of Lima, where he ministered to the poor and came to the conclusion that poverty was not an accident, but a human construction, the result of structural inequalities in politics and society. Gutierrez's work resonated across continents, reminding people throughout the world that faith must be rooted in action. He died in Lima, Peru last October at the age of 96. She was known both as Grizzly 178 and as Nakoda. She was a white grizzly bear who was struck by a vehicle in June in Yoho National Park just hours after another vehicle had killed her 2 cubs at the same location. Nakoda had, unfortunately, become long comfortable being near traffic. Over the years, Nakoda's climbing and roadside antics required many interventions. In 2022, she was relocated within her home range because of the time she was spending near the highway and train tracks. A year later, Parks Canada put up 15 kilometers of electric wiring on fences west of Lake Louise into the Yoho Park boundary, partially to stop Nakoda from climbing over. While road crews tried to encourage her to move away from the road on the day that she was hit, she was seemingly startled by a nearby train and then darted into traffic. She was frequently seen along the Trans-Canada Highway with her striking platinum fur, especially in the spring and summer when the dandelions were in bloom. This led to her having an impressive following on social media. Her many admirers and Parks Canada staff were devastated by the loss of this great bear and her 2 cubs. Senator Murray Sinclair was a visionary leader and a powerful voice for justice and reconciliation throughout Turtle Island. His Ojibwe name was Mazina Gizik, the one who speaks of pictures in the sky. Born in 1951, he grew up in Selkirk, Manitoba, on the St. Peter's Indian Reserve along the shores of the Red River. He became the valedictorian of his high school graduating class, went on to study at the University of Manitoba's School of Physical Education, but he left there before graduating so that he could care for his ailing grandmother. Eventually, he studied law in Manitoba and was called to the bar there in 1980. He was the first Indigenous judge appointed to the Manitoba Court of Queen's Bench, and of course chaired the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which tabled their watershed report in 2015. In recent years, after serving in the Canadian Senate, Sinclair served as the Chancellor of Queen's University. His unwavering commitment to social justice and the rights and dignity of Indigenous peoples has left an indelible mark on this land we call Canada. He was 73 when he died in Winnipeg last November. Bernice Johnson Reagan was an extraordinary woman whose voice and spirit resonated far beyond the stage. As a singer, scholar, and activist, Johnson Reagan dedicated her life to the pursuit of justice, cultural preservation, and a celebration of Black heritage. Her powerful voice became a symbol of strength and resilience, whether she was performing with Sweet Honey in the Rock or advocating for civil rights in the streets. Her music was a vehicle for change, expressing the struggles and triumphs of the African American experience. Her work at the Smithsonian Institution and her contributions to the study of Black music enriched our understanding of the role of art and music in social movements. Reflecting on music and protest movements born out of her personal experience with singing groups in the Freedom Summer of 1964, she said the following: "After a song, the differences between us were not so great. Somehow making a song required an expression of that which was common to us all. This music was like an instrument, like holding a tool in your hand." I love that. Regan Johnson earned her PhD at Howard University, was professor emerita at American University, and a visiting scholar at Stanford. She died in Washington, D.C. in July at the age of 81. As we close this somewhat unique service, we turn to one of the pieces she often sang with Sweet Honey in the Rock, the marvelous women's a cappella group she founded in 1973. If you have a blue hymnal, it might make it easier to sing this, because I don't think this is another one known by the congregation. Elliot will be singing along to help us out, and the last refrain we'll sing just 2 times, which I think will become clear when we get there.
Listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Ah, whoosh, ah. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead are not under the earth. They are in the rustling trees. They are in the roaring woods. They are in the crying grass. They are in the moaning rocks. The dead are not under the earth. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Zah, whoosh, ah, whoosh. Those who have died have never, never left. The dead have a pact with the living. They are in the woman's breast. They are in the wailing child. They are with us in our homes. They are with us in this crowd. The dead have a pact with the living. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Ah, whoosh. Whoosh.
I invite you to take your seats for the benediction. I leave you now with the words of the Reverend Mark Morrison Reed. We are all dying, our lives always moving toward completion. We need to learn to live with death and to understand that death is not the worst of all events. We need to fear not death, but life, empty lives, loveless lives. Lives that do not build upon the gifts that each of us has been given, lives that are like living deaths, lives that we never take the time to savor and appreciate, lives in which we never pause to breathe deeply. What we need to fear is not death, but squandering the lives that we have been miraculously given. So let us die laughing, savoring one of life's wild moments. Let us die holding the hand of one we love and recalling that we tried to love and were loved in return. Let us die remembering that life has been good and that we did what we could. But today, just remind us that we are dying so that we can live and savor and love with all our heart. May it be so. Blessed be. As we extinguish the flame of our chalice, let us carry forward love and peace as we go. I invite you now to rise to sing Carry the Flame.